You're listening to the Jam Prey Show, all about movies. And today, my guest is director Maria Fredriksson, and we're going to be talking about her brand new documentary entitled The Gullspång Miracle. Welcome to the show, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm really happy to have you here because this is truly an intriguing documentary that just sort of sucks you right in and doesn't let you go until the end. And I really, really, really loved it. I just thought it was a very fascinating documentary. So our listeners know what we're talking about. Would you like to give a brief synopsis of the Gullspång miracle?
That's not an easy one. I give it a try. There are two Norwegian elderly ladies, very religious, and they happen to go apartment hunting in Sweden in the small town of Gullspång, and they see a sign. Um, so they sort of they buy an apartment out of finding a painting on the wall. It sounds strange, and it is strange, but it's not strange for them. And when they go to sign the contract, they meet the seller of the apartment, the lady that owned it, and she is a copy of their sister that died 30 years ago by suicide. And that's the start of it, and then it sort of takes a lot of unexpected twists and turns.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So these two sisters, one sister had been looking for a painting all summer long. She came to visit and she was looking for a painting that she wanted. And then she said she thinks about buying an apartment while she's there. I just want to get this really clear. And when she goes into the apartment, she sees the exact painting that she's been looking for all summer long. So that started the whole mystery.
Yes.
And
Verifying that that's exactly how it is.
yeah, just to, and so then, as you said, they go to meet the seller, and they can't even speak because she looks exactly like their sister, as you said, who committed suicide 30 years before. So then we go on this amazing journey of discovery. So, how did you get involved with making this documentary? How did that happen?
It happened. So I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I made quite a few films about elderly ladies. I'm sort of an auntie filmmaker in Sweden. So when this miracle happened to the sisters Kari and Mai, a lot of people asked them that you should call TV, you should call a broadcaster, because your story, someone has to tell it. You have to let people know about this miracle. So they called the national broadcaster, the documentary department, and said, we have a story. And since I've been working with the documentary department quite a lot, they know that I'm they thought that I might take interest in these ladies, since I love making films about elderly ladies. So they called me. They didn't know anything about me or my films or my filmmaking or anything. They just phoned me and asked if I wanted to come to Gullspång and hear about what happened to them.
And when you started this, you had no idea, I'm sure, where this was going to head.
No, no, of course not. My thoughts at that point was that everything have already happened. How can I make a documentary film when the story is, finished already? They experienced the miracle, and I tried to find a way to tell what happened before the miracle, or maybe I could reconstruct the story, or I didn't know how to tell it, but I was quite sure that the story was finished, and it was just the beginning. So no. So I had I expected something else, and so did them, because they came to me because they wanted, to have this happy family reunion story told. That was their goal, and it turned into something very, very much a darker story that none of us were. We were not prepared for that. But they are brave ladies, so we continued filming.
And at one point, you got upset. You're a little bit a part of this story too, because we do hear you obviously asking questions and whatnot. But there was one point, I really, I don't want to give too much away, because you really have to watch this. It just, I don't, because if we start talking about lots of the different things, then it'll take away the journey of watching this film, because it is a journey, and you don't want to, you want people to come to their own conclusions on this particular journey. So, but at one point you got upset. Can we talk about that?
Yes, we can do that. I totally agree. You should know as little as possible about the story when you start watching, I think. But yes, I had been filming for quite a while when something very unexpected happens in front of the camera, and I started to I wouldn't say scream, but I was like I was behaving inappropriate. As a director, you're not supposed to react the way I did, and of course I could have chosen to not have it in the film. I'm it's my choice to keep it in the film, but I think it's for the audience sake, because if someone has to ask the questions I do at that point, so I had to include it in the film, I think, and because of that choice, I also had to put myself in the film earlier on, because otherwise it would have been even stranger, when I start screaming at the people in the film, and if the audience doesn't know that the director is present in the story, if you understand what I mean. So that's also why I start the film as I do, that to tell that the director will be present in this story.
Yeah, it's it is. I think it just makes it real, and we begin to understand. I'm sure every documentary filmmaker has had their frustrations when they have started doing a documentary, and and you just expressed it during that time. It was. Let's talk about the sister that they met. Can we talk a little bit about her? Olag, is that her? Yeah, let's talk a little bit, because there's. Can we talk about what happened to them when they were younger? Can that's not going to give away too much, I don't think. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about that. Of how. Okay, so let's just start where they decided they met her, Olag, and from that they decided to get the DNA test. Is that correct at that point? Okay, so why don't you take over from there?
So they decided so they met this woman, and she was like the spitting image of their dead sister, but of course 30 years older. And they asked her, when's your birthday and where were you born? And she happened to be born the same day as their dead sister, and born in the same area in northern Norway, in a very, 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 very far from Gullspång. It's like, I know you have another system, so it doesn't matter if I say kilometers, but it's at least if you drive by car, it's like two or 3 days drive. So it's far, And then they asked if they could take a DNA test with this woman, and she said yes. And they realized that they are sisters. So at first, they actually believe it's their deceased sister, Lita.
They're half sisters.
They are half sisters. They have the same. They have the same father, but not the same mother. And that's the same as the dead sister Lita. She was also their half sister. So at first they actually believe it's her, that she just didn't die, that she just disappeared somewhere. But then they realized it's a twin, a twin they didn't know existed. And she was given away during the Nazi occupation of Norway. So that's what they realize.
And the reason, and she also, the dead sister's name, or what they called her, was Lita. And this woman was also called Lita for the first, 20 years of her life, which was also pretty amazing. But the reason that they were separated was during that time that the Nazis were doing tests on twins, correct? And they were trying to make this master race. And I don't know if they were trying to do it with twins, but they were doing studies on twins. And so that is why they separated them. They didn't want the Nazis to know that these women were twins. And so that's why they were, one was a foster child and was given away. And that was Oleg, the one that...
And Oleg, she never knew that she was a foster child. No one ever told her. So she grew up with her parents and her sister, and no one told her that she didn't belong to that family. But she always felt that something was different. But she couldn't, since no one told her, she didn't understand. But her whole life, up until she was almost 80 years old, she felt that she didn't belong in the family she grew up in. So so this was a big, identity crisis for her, because when this happened to her, she was at, an age when you are maybe summarizing your life a bit. You're not getting a new identity. She had to rewrite her whole life story at that point. So that was really tough on her.
I can imagine it would be. All of a sudden you were raised. But I think so many people feel they don't belong to their families.
Yes, absolutely.
I know. I definitely felt like I didn't belong to my family, but anyhow. So I think a lot of people say, I don't feel like this is not my tribe. Anyhow. But she grew up in affluence. She grew up with a very affluent family and a very loving family from all appearances, and had a wonderful childhood. So that, and then when she meets these half sisters and goes to meet the rest of her half siblings, quite different upbringings that they all had. Can we touch a little bit about that?
Yeah, so for me, when at this point when I was filming, I thought this was going to be a story about nature versus nurture. And if you're brought up in a Christian family, or a family where you don't believe in God, if you're educated, or if you live on a farm, and how it affects you. And so that's what I believe to be the core of the story at that point. But then it turned into something else. So it starts off as a family reunion, and it's all just happy and all that, and then it turns into something else, and then it turns into something else again, and maybe then again. So but it's what I really love about these women, and it's that they are very outspoken, all of them. They are not afraid to tell what they want, and they're not they don't mind me and my camera being there. And because Olag is not afraid to speak out, and neither are the other women. But it was quite a journey for me as well to follow these women through all this.
I can imagine it would be, because you're right. They're all very vocal and outspoken about what they think. I'm gonna, and again, I hope I'm not giving away anything, but Olag, even though she didn't feel like she belonged to the family that raised her, after she met her siblings, her sisters and her brothers, she didn't feel like she belonged with them either.
No, that's really true.
Yeah, and that's go ahead. I was gonna say that's a double identity crisis. Now I don't really belong with the people that raised me, but now I'm discovering this other family and I don't feel like I belong to them either. So can we discuss that a little bit further?
Yeah, and that was really tough on her. And some might, think that she's not behaving properly, or but she had a really hard time because, as you say, first she's having one identity crisis, and when she met her new family, she really tried at first to become a part of their family, and they really hoped, they felt that they got their dead sister back in a way, and they missed their sister so much, Lita, and they really wanted Olag to become a part of their family, but she felt that they expected her to be someone that she couldn't live up to, that she was not Lita, she was Olag. And that was tough for all of them, I think, because they all had expectations for this new situation, and none of them could, fulfill the expectations.
Yes, and
they really tried hard.
They did. They really did. I'm just, again, I don't want to give away too much of this, but can we talk a little bit about we'll just say there is a revelation around the dead sister.
Yeah.
And we don't want to get into that. What I want to say to you is, I ended up watching this. I had some of my own theories about things, and but I also think you have another documentary.
Yes.
Oh, definitely out of this one. We'll talk off camera. Because if we talk about it on camera, it's going to give away this. I mean, I have to tell everybody, I'm sorry to be so mysterious about this, but this is such an intriguing story, as I said, and it just takes you on a twisty turn, and you think it's going one way and it turns the other way. And it's a fascinating documentary. But, because I think you have more. I think there's more. I mean, when I was left like, oh, wait a minute.
No, it was really, really hard to know when to stop filming, because every time I went, me and Pia, the photographer, when we went to see them, we had ideas about what to film or what material to bring home. And we always came home with something completely different every time. And there are a lot of questions in this film. And at one point, I felt that I can't finish filming. I have to find answers to all these questions to be able to finish the film. And that kept me awake many, many nights. Sure. And I think what I can say about the dead sister, without spoiling too much, is that Olag, of course, wants to get to know her dead twin, because she felt that maybe Lita was the one who would have, understood her. Or so she's trying to understand who was my dead twin, and she is digging into that, and a lot of new revelations about the dead sister is, we can say that much.
Yes,
I guess.
yes, we can. Can we talk a little bit, because all of us, as I said, this just becomes a totally different film. It really does. Because new characters show up towards the end of the film, I would say. Can we talk a little bit about that? I think I don't know. We might be giving away more, but go ahead and see what.
I'm I can tell you that I was filming for 4 years. I was following them for 4 years, and I talked to them every week for 4 years, all of them. I mean, all the three sisters, not everybody that appears in the film. And even if you don't get all the answers to all the questions in the film, and I had to be able to, to edit the story, I had to film a lot of people that are not in the film. So I know more than I tell in the film, but I don't know everything. So maybe there is another film out there.
I think so. I think so for sure. It is. It is. It's a really, really, really intriguing documentary. Where can people see the Gullspång miracle?
They can see it. I think I have it here. It will be available to rent or purchase from May 2nd on video on demand outlets, all digital platforms, including Amazon, iTunes, Fandango at Home, and on Film Movement's own streaming subscription service, Film Movement Plus.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, there's all kinds of places for people to see the Gullspång miracle, and I just highly recommend it. It really is. It's truly it is a haunting film. It's got lots of twists and turns, and you just don't know where it's going. And all of the sisters that are in this, and the siblings, are very fascinating people. Every single one of them on their own. They're all very interesting. So I highly recommend finding the Gullspång miracle. Maria, thank you so much for being on the show. It was such a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Take care.
Okay, bye.